Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today for Leighton's International Women's Day panel. We have brought together a panel of women from across the business to discuss this year's International Women's Day theme, Accelerate Action. Before we kick on with the panel, I wanted to start today with a powerful reminder that at the current rate of progress, it will take until 2158, which is roughly 5 generations from now, to reach full gender parity, according to data from the World Economic Forum. The call to accelerate action emphasises the need to take swift and decisive steps towards gender equality. It highlights the urgency of tackling systemic barriers and biases that women face in both personal and professional spheres. Today's panel is a chance to explore how we as individuals can contribute to this momentum, sharing our stories and insights and practical advice on advancing a career at Leighton. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sarah Glanville and I am the Communications and Engagement Partner here at Leighton. I'm going to host the panel today and share a little of my own experience. My role spans across our commercial and internal operations teams, giving me the privilege of working closely with partners, clients and teams across the entire business to help build out our brand in industry, share stories and expertise both internally and externally. So before we dive into the discussion, I'd like to invite each of our panelists to introduce themselves and share a bit about their current roles. Rebecca, do you want to start us off?
Thank you, Sarah. So my name is Rebecca. I'm an Associate Director here at Leighton, based in our Bristol office. I joined Leighton about 3 years ago, but have been specialising in R&D for almost 9 years now. Fell into it, basically. I think you hear that from most people that sort of work in the R&D space. I started off in R&D and did my accounting qualification, so a chartered accountant in the IWD, and have pretty much gone on from there.
Great, thanks Rebecca. Joanna?
Yeah, thanks Sarah. My name's Joanna and I'm currently a financial consultant based in Manchester. I've been at Leighton for over 3 years now, and I kind of had a bit of more of a disjointed kind of journey here. I've had a couple of different roles which I can get into, but yeah, I started off in sales and then went through the kind of CDM client role, and then now I've ended up in the financial consultant role. So that's where I've kind of come to this role currently.
Great. And Sarah Howden?
Yeah, my name is Sarah. I am a tax manager and learning development lead based in the Glasgow office. I have been at Leighton for 6 years. I'm ATT qualified, and I guess similar to Joanna, I've got a kind of wide range of roles under my belt at Leighton that we can also go into later on.
Fantastic. All right, Rebecca, you're going to tackle our first question for us. So when you first started your career, did you have a clear vision of where you wanted to go? And how does your current role compare to what what you first initially envisioned?
Guess I just gave a bit of a teaser to that to say that I fell into R&D. So no, I think when I first envisioned my career, I thought I would end up in the banking world. Don't really know why. Well, I guess I do know why. So my dad was a very successful banker. He did very well within commercial banking, and I kind of always saw myself to follow that direction. But I still went on to do accounting and finance at university because I figured that eventually I did want to be in some form of financial sector, but that it would be within the bank. I did banking for a year and it was not for me. I soon found out. So that was when the opportunity arose to start working in R&D. So yeah, it was probably a different industry than what I imagined, but the career that I built for myself and the career that I always wanted to build for myself, I think the vision is very similar. It's very get stuck in, do well for yourself, really commit yourself to the business that you work for, and just kind of accelerate in whatever it is that I do. That's always my goal. So I think the role that I do here allows me to do that, and I think whatever I ended up in, I would always want that for myself. But it is very different. Yeah, I didn't necessarily expect R&D, banking, but still now having had that accounting and qualification background and being able to go into the not accounting world, but the tax world, it's something that I think I would have probably always fallen into anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've got a completely different answer to you, Rebecca, like in terms of having, like, you've kind of had a vision and you've worked towards it. So I joined Leighton, came from a recruitment consultancy background, so basically a sales job, but recruiting for a number of different companies. And I joined Leighton in our talent acquisition function. So for anyone who is a little bit newer, maybe doesn't realise that that's where I started. I started in an ops role. So I came into the talent acquisition team in a brand new job for Leighton. They'd never had someone working on talent engagement before. And the role focus really was kind of building out the employer brand, creating recruitment marketing content, showcasing Leighton as a great workplace. So there wasn't really like a clear vision, I guess, where that role would lead, because it was a brand new job, because it was something that was new and unique. There wasn't really a defined career pathway, and I knew that when I started. But what it meant was I was given a lot of freedom, trust, and flexibility to build out that role from the start. And I really kind of guess I took it as a blank slate approach and just actually worked really hard to try and develop and evolve something out of that role. And that led really for me to transition into the role that I'm in currently now, and identified a few gaps or opportunities that I've seen in the business, and earned a promotion to this current role, communications and engagement partner, a year ago. And quite similarly, again, it's a role that has never been defined in the business before, and it's quite a blank slate scenario. And again, I've sort of spent the last year building that out, defining it and expanding it. So I split my time between our internal teams and our commercial teams. I still support with our talent acquisition team with all sorts of talent engagement activities. I support the senior leadership team with internal comms, and I also look after some element of commercial partnerships. So I manage membership associations and industry network relationships. As I said before, sharing expertise across industry. So I manage to work with every team pretty much across the business, and no two days are the same, which is really something I enjoy. But in terms of where I would be when I started, absolutely not. I'd say I see like Leighton as a career springboard, really, and it's a great place for people who have creative ideas and who are wanting to build something. There's a lot of opportunity for people here to do that. So if you're someone who has doesn't maybe know where they want to go, there's a lot of opportunity at Leighton as well for you to build something out going forward. Joanna, I wanted to throw the second question to you to start with. Have there been any unexpected twists or key challenges in your career progression, and how has that shaped your journey?
Yeah, so I'll answer in like two parts. I think the main like unexpected twist maybe in my career progression is actually building off kind of what Rebecca was saying, like you had a very clear vision kind of on your career path and everything. I think that when I joined Leighton, I actually had no idea. Because I was a chef before. I mean, I did economics and I did like accounting and stuff in uni, but I've decided during uni, I was like, I don't want to do any of that. And then I've decided to do something completely different. And when I joined Leighton, it was on the back end of trying to kind of get back into something more normal and get a routine back into myself. So when I joined, I had no idea. And the unexpected twist was that I landed back to where I was studying for, and that was actually quite unexpected. I really didn't expect myself to be doing it or enjoying doing it, because I tried to escape it. But it just so happens that whilst doing different roles in the company, I've discovered that I actually could be good at it, despite trying to, I guess, fight it in a different way. But yeah, so that's the unexpected twist, is that I've actually found something that I didn't think that I would be good at doing anymore. And I think the key challenge maybe for me for just my time in Leighton then is that I've moved around in the roles and the departments, which is a good thing, but also it has its challenges, just because that you kind of had to get used to a new team again and a new routine and everything. But I do think that it has shaped a very well-rounded journey for me. It meant that I picked up a lot of skills. It meant that it meant that I met a lot of people in the company, even though I've only been here for 3 years, and it just allowed me to understand the business better, which I guess I don't know, it makes me feel more integrated with the whole system. And I don't think I would have had that if I didn't switch around so much.
That's great, Joanna. And Sarah, same question to you. Unexpected twists and challenges in your career so far?
Yeah, so I think the most unexpected twist for me was probably starting my career in sales. It was never a job that I saw myself in. I basically started uni in civil engineering, because I thought that you had to go to uni to get a job at the end of it. And I was like, civil engineering, you become a civil engineer. But, you know, my parents always said that I should have done maths, and, you know, it ended up that they were right, and I went and did maths. And I from then I knew that I always wanted to like work with numbers and finance of some sort, but like so broad. But I knew that I wanted to work with numbers. But with my dad's illness meant, like, I'd moved to France actually as well after uni, because I'd been at uni for so long, civil engineering in maths and physics. It was a lot to deal with. So went off to France, and then my dad was really quite ill. So I had to move home quickly just to kind of be with family in his final months. And I was essentially applying for opportunities like grad jobs that were available in January, which isn't very, there's not a lot. So it's how I landed in sales. But to be honest, the reason I chose Leighton was because I knew it was a financial services company. I wanted to be in numbers, so I kind of seen the opportunity and hoped it was the kind of company that would, you know, allow me to take that opportunity. But what really surprised me was that, you know, how much sales really kind of, you know, the experience of being in sales really kind of shaped my work ethic. I think dealing with the daily rejection of cold calling, it definitely taught me resilience and kind of gave me a sense of drive that I definitely have brought into every role since. I guess it kind of shows that the most kind of unexpected roles can build the skills, you know, that you need to go to the roles that you actually, you know, want to end up in.
Yeah.
I'd just like to say, I used to manage Sarah, and she's definitely got resilience. So
yeah, definitely the sales role definitely gives you that. But I think it's so interesting, Jana, you also had talked about, you know, I guess being well-rounded from having that journey through different roles at Leighton before, you know, finding, I guess, where you now are and where you're happy. There's so many skills that go into that FC role. That's not just numbers, it's the client-facing stuff as well, which you've been given exposure to. So Rebecca, I throw this back to you again. What key factors or experiences influenced your career path the most? Do you think it was something like mentorship or company culture, opportunities, personal ambition?
I'd say it's probably a mix of a few of those. I think the big one that's shaped it, if I look backwards, has been getting my chartership, so getting that qualification, because at the time that was like a very difficult time for me. I think like you're putting yourself through a lot of exams and a heavy workload as well. I was a manager at the time, so wasn't just dealing with my own workload, I was dealing with the workload of others and having to put myself through 15 exams. So I think that would be what I would say if I look back. It's definitely influenced where I am today. I think personal ambition fed into that, because like I said at the beginning, like I have always been very driven. Like I do want to excel in my career, commit myself to a business, like see the future. And that's kind of just the way I have been. But then at the same time, I think it is about culture, because it's about who you surround yourself with and who you lean on when you need that support. And especially when times get tough, and times do get busy here. So actually, if you've got people you can lean on and you've got that support and culture around you, it really does make a difference.
Definitely. Joanna, what key factors have influenced your career path the most?
Yeah, I mean, it's similar in the sense of where Rebecca said that it's a mixture of a lot of things. But I think for me as well, a big part of it is personal ambition. At the forefront of it is just the kind of, not even though I didn't know exactly where I wanted to end up, it was still something I have a drive for forward. I just needed to, that was a big part of it. But I think that's not the only thing that can help. I think Leighton does offer up quite a lot of opportunities. And, you know, to go back to kind of what you said about yourself as well, Sarah, that you said that, you know, your role wasn't really, defined when you first started, right? And I think there's a certain amount of openness here that within the business that allows you, or they also kind of recognize, you know, if you have that ambition or if you have that drive to do something, that also kind of, that helps, right? That, because without that, there's nowhere for that drive to go. And I also think a big part of it is also like the people here with the mentorship, especially. I think not just from, you know, past managers I've had, but I mean, we've got Sarah Howden was my well, I'm still counting her as my mentor. She's not leaving me as my mentor, but I think that also helped me a lot, just having someone to you know, have that support and that you know, you don't feel like you can't speak to anyone when you're here. And I think that that's quite nice, especially I think being in one of the offices with less women as well. I think it does get a little bit tough sometimes. So that really helps kind of, I think, like keep it going.
Yeah, I can really speak for Joanna's ambition. I feel like you're always wanting to like improve upon like what you've done in the past, and it's yeah, really refreshing to see.
Great. Rebecca, what advice would you give to women looking to accelerate their own career growth?
That's a big one. I think the big one, if I was to frame it on like myself, like what advice would I give for myself? It would be like just to always remember to invest in yourself and to actually put that time in. And again, like I've talked just then about how busy things can get here, but if you do forget to invest in yourself and like take that time to always continue your own learning and development and progression, like that is what's important at the end of the day. And I think if you can do that, it's easy to forget. It's easy to forget to invest in yourself and to kind of just go with the flow or not accelerate and grow. So I think that's probably one. The other one I think would be like lean on people. So lean on other people that you've got, you know, people around you, other women in careers. You can lean on them. You can really lean on the mentorship that, again, you two have just spoke between the two of you, that you have that mentor relationship, and that's really important. It's like you're not going alone, and actually to go far, you go together. So it's really important.
So important. What would I guess your advice be for someone who's maybe is struggling with like their workload and making sure they're managing that? How do they find time to prioritize their own development?
I guess it's just realizing how important it is. So I block out time in my diary. So I have time in my diary every Thursday morning, just happens to be, where I make sure that is dedicated time for me. So, I mean, it's part of CPD anyway. We have to make sure that we're always like continuously professionally developing. But sometimes it's more than that. Sometimes it's just actually I need to get my head down and look at something that's going to benefit myself for this hour, and it's really dedicated time. And I think at the end of the day, if you don't do it, you will fall behind in other areas, because whilst you might not think it's important, it is important, and the lack of it could then build up. And I think the lack of that, like, yeah, investing in yourself can build up where you can fall behind in just other areas. It's the same as, you know, making sure that you take regular breaks, make sure you regularly look after yourself. It's all part of that.
Yeah, definitely. Sarah, do you have any thoughts on what advice women should have? Yeah.
Yeah, I think all of the points that Rebecca made, I need to remind myself to do that. It is so hard when you're so busy. Like, mental note for future. But I think as well, something that I've had to kind of teach myself and remind myself to do is to only kind of look at yourself. So always try and outperform yourself rather than looking at others. Because I've definitely been guilty about this in the past, and I'm only kind of starting to get good at that, you know, only look at your own goals and compare yourself against yourself kind of thing, because you can kind of get in a spiral if you end up comparing yourself to others. I think like progression comes from always pushing your own limits, even when people aren't watching, and even just setting small personal goals and celebrating them with yourself. You know, like being happy that you've made that wee goal that you set yourself. And I guess always kind of but don't be afraid to speak up about your ambition. No one's really going to map your career for you, so you kind of have to take control of where you want to go and try and figure that out, because there is people here that will help you facilitate that, but you do have to kind of figure out what path you want to take. And I think even if you don't feel like you're ready for the next step, you should always put your name forward and show your interest, because your managers or someone in the company, it doesn't need to be your manager, it can be anyone, can help you with that and kind of help you map out your progression. Rebecca has certainly done that for me in promotions, where we've sat down and had made a proper map on what needs to be done in order to be at the point of where you should be requesting that promotion. And I think there's so many women that are happy to help and love seeing other women progress as well.
Definitely. I think it's so important to own your own development, like you say, that you understand what your next steps are, and you only do that by asking the question, right, and putting yourself out there and getting the feedback. Joanna, I'm going to throw the next question to you. How can women be bold in advocating for themselves when it comes to promotions, leadership roles, careers opportunities?
That's also a big one. Let me just gather my thoughts on this. But I think this is something that actually sometimes I do find quite challenging. I know I mentioned it just earlier about me being in one of the offices that has a little less female presence. I do find it quite challenging sometimes. And I think the most important thing, at least for me, and something that I've learned as well through looking up to a lot of the women in our wider Leighton, but I think that the most important thing that I've learned is to be vocal and to ensure that I take the initiative and grab onto any opportunities when they come up. And I guess one of the examples could actually be that the way that I've found myself to be a financial consultant. I think I was honestly I just grabbed every opportunity. I asked, I prodded, I kept asking, can I help? And then from learning about it, then I was like, well, is there opportunities going? Is there, anything? I just kept being I don't know if annoying is the right word, but I just kept making myself available there. I want to do this if this is available. And I think just presenting myself and making that it allowed me to, I guess also allowed more training to be done, because I did ask for that. But it also then, I think, made people realize okay, yeah, no, she wants to do that. Because that, I think for me, speaking up for yourself is super important, like Sarah did mention as well. And because you can't really just expect things to happen. And you have to really take control of what you want for your own career. So I think that, for me anyway, being quite still early in my career, I think that's the main thing that I found has been helpful so far, is speaking up and just, don't be complacent, and just, you got to, you got to grab what you want to, or what you see, you can't just lay back and wait for things to happen.
It's funny you say that, Joanna, because that's essentially what I did. That's how I moved from sales to finance. I was like, hello, hi, I can help. Hi, remember me?
Persistence.
Yeah, absolutely. That is honestly the key. And, as Rebecca said, everyone is so busy. So they do eventually, they're like, wait, Sarah, Joanna, they've said that they can help. We should probably utilize that. And it's essentially, I was helping data dumps when I was in sales, and they were horrific. They were absolutely horrific. But I was like, I'm going to stay on late and do this. And that's essentially how I segued over as well. It's funny. But I guess I can elaborate on that question as well, since I'm chatting away.
Yes.
And I guess it kind of links into my previous answer as well. But I think it just kind of starts with advocating yourself, knowing your own worth and kind of being your biggest supporter and knowing what you can do. I think, like I'd said before, in my career, I've always tried to make sure that I'm delivering beyond my current role before asking for the next step, but not being at that point before kind of voicing my desire to move to that role, because you shouldn't be doing it alone. You know, there's always people there to help you. So as soon as I knew that, for example, when I wanted to move to senior, you know, I would let my manager know, wasn't quite ready for it, but at least then there was a path, so that then once I, you know, was surpassing that step, I could then ask for the promotion. So it's not like you're asking for an opportunity, it's like showing that you've already earned it. And I feel like some women can sometimes hold back until they feel like they're 100% ready to put themselves forward. But I think in reality, most people don't feel ready. So I think you just need to kind of take the leap, really. And if you know that you're capable for it and you're bold enough to ask for the recognition, then it's the best way forward.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. I think it's like not just advocating for yourself, it's like demonstrating that commitment, like already demonstrating it and moving towards contributing towards business. I think one of my favorite words that I drop in every conversation I have is like impact, right? And like talking about the impact that you have here, and being able to evidence that impact. And if you're able to affect impact, or if you have an opportunity, that an idea in your head about an opportunity that could help deliver more impact within the business, like advocating for your ability to do so, because the business is very receptive to being better in everything that they do. They want a new way of doing things. They want to think about a different way of, you know, doing things, and whether that's client service or operational efficiency or anything, like they're very, very open to it. So if you can go with a plan and how you fit into that plan, like someone will hear you out. And the answer isn't always yes. Like, trust me, I'm saying I've done some work to sort of build out things. I've also tried to go down routes when it's been not the right time, or it's been pushed back to another time, or it's not been the right thing at all. But not taking no's as no's, thinking it as like redirections, and learning more about the business and what they actually need as well. So yeah, there's definitely lots of opportunities if you can advocate for yourself and bring people on side as well. Like, people want other people to do well in the business, so
Yeah,
getting
I think
people on side is good.
I think as well, like, it's never just a no. Like, that isn't
Yeah.
the answer. You get feedback from it. So if it is a no at that time, you're going to get feedback that you can then improve on, and that can turn it into a yes. So it is hard to take the no's, but, you know, use them as kind of like a stepping stone, because I think we've all had no's at some point.
100%. Rebecca, if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self about navigating a successful career, what would it be?
I think just to realize that, like, your career doesn't have to be set in stone. So, like, again, I guess looping back to the very first question, you might think that you're going to end in some career or end up in some job that actually that's not right for you. So it's not written in stone. You can very much shape your own career. And I'm very much a firm believer in, like, that, you know, you work hard, you get the results. So if you want to excel in something, you put the time in, then you put the effort in, and you can get there. So yeah, I guess sort of like twofold answer. One is, don't just think that it's all lined up for you and that's the way you're going to go. You can navigate differently depending on whatever happens in your life. But also, just if you do want to progress, you have to work hard, you have to commit yourself, and you have to bring others along with you along that journey.
Definitely. Sarah, any advice?
I mean, I would probably tell myself the exact same thing that Rebecca said. You know, it's okay not to have it all figured out at the start. You know, I always kind of thought you had to have this perfect plan, and that's how you would navigate life, essentially. But I guess the truth is that careers aren't always linear. I've definitely learned that, like, you know, every role, even the ones that don't feel like it's part of the plan, they're going to teach you something valuable. And again, like Rebecca said, just like trust that hard work is going to open the right doors. And I guess never underestimate how far ambition and consistency can take you, really.
Definitely. Joanna, any thoughts on that question to finish off?
I I honestly I've just been taking that in because I think I've been listening to Rebecca and Sarah say and yourself as well to say all of these things, especially the advice and things like that. Honestly, I'm taking it in. I need it. I need the advice. I feel like you guys are some of the women that I really do look up to in the business to see how you've like made a path for yourself. And I can't, I feel like at this point in my life right now, I don't really know what I can give myself. I think I'm not, I would just be speaking out of turn on for my, you know, younger self. I think if anything is just, you know, because I feel like I'm still just bumbling through it all. So
you'll be in the seat
think-
in 5 years' time, and then you can answer the question.
yeah, come back to me.
to be fair, I think your answer though kind of is advice, right? And that is be open to listening to people that are around you, be receptive to other people's experiences, and try and learn from the people that are in your network, because that's what you're saying you're doing, right? And I think that's advice that everyone could take forward. Doesn't matter how far along in their career they are, there's so much you can learn from the people around you. All right, before we finish up, last chance, anyone got anything else that they want to contribute towards today's conversation?
I do actually have one thing, but it's only because it's just come to mind as we've been speaking, and I was thinking about it as well earlier on in the week when we were talking about International Women's Day. I realised that throughout my career, the majority of my managers and mentors have been women. Isn't that interesting?
That's great.
Yeah. And I was thinking back on it and I thought, I think bar one, I've had all female managers and mentors. Yeah, throughout, definitely since R&D anyway, for 9 years.
I think as well, and like in Leighton alone, it's the same. So many like of the leadership team and senior leadership team are all women. So it's like super, like, you know, so nice to see and really inspiring as well.
Definitely. Yes, it's I think Leighton's a fantastic business to work in. I think there's so many opportunities across the board, and I think we work around a lot of men who are allies as well, who want to help push forward, you know, that, I guess, normalizing the fact that women can, like, it's crazy that it's 2025 and we're having to have conversations about the fact that gender parity still seems so far away. And I think it can sometimes feel far away when you're maybe working in an organisation where the top level is, you know, there is representation across the top level. And I know in consulting there's you know, a really good representation of women in across all layers of the business. Sales in the organisation isn't the same, and I think that there's no hiding from that, and no one's trying to hide from that. Sales as an industry is probably afflicted by the fact that there's less women in that area of work. But yeah, I think that Leighton as a business is set up well to continue to try and challenge, I guess, that bias within the sales culture, and I hope that we'll continue to bring more women into that area of the business. There's definitely more women in that area of the business now than there have been in the past, so we just have to keep putting our best foot forward, I guess, and trying to have inspiring conversations like this and showing the opportunities that are here for anyone who wants to join us. All right, thank you all for being part of the discussion today. I was really enjoyed that. Thank you all for contributing. I hope that everyone who's listening to this on our International Women's Day activities, we're doing that on the Thursday the 6th. It was a little bit ahead of the actual day, but hopefully everyone's going to get lots from this as well, get some inspiration and practical insights to help accelerate action in your own career journey. So we want to keep the conversation going. So as I said, we're having informal coffee catch-ups on Thursday. There's no set agenda for those, so it's just a chance to connect, share your experience, and bring those key takeaways from our panel discussion, and then anything else that you've heard going on around the International Women's Day stuff outside of Leighton, bring it into a relaxed setting and stimulate conversation. So huge thank you again to our wonderful panelists for sharing their stories, and thank you to everyone for listening. Let's continue to support and uplift each other as we take bold steps forward. Okay, that's us.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. That was so good. That was really good. Thank you for prepping. Can always tell when people put some